Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm Sam.
And welcome to Drewling Samantics.
Hey, buddy!
Hey, how you doing? You well?
Very well, thank you. You all right?
Good. I'm very good. I've got the necessary.
Oh, a week. There it is. And there it is. I'm gonna
Good
open
man.
it out. There we go. Bit of what
There
they
we
call that? ASMR or whatever it is. The sound. I don't know. But
I don't know.
cheers. Anyway, cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Oh.
All good.
I'll tell you what. What is it?
Mhm.
About 2 months, and we'll be able to do that for real. I mean, not.
Oh, crikey, yeah, it is.
I mean, it is.
Yeah.
It is real. This isn't some camera trickery. But I mean, we might actually be able to cheers for yeah.
Yeah,
2 months
personal
counting.
clinky.
Yeah.
I know.
Cannot wait, mate. Cannot wait
That'd
to
be
go out
great.
in a beer garden in the sun and actually not have to worry quite so much about masks and other things and stuff. And
Yeah.
cannot wait. But
I don't know.
but anyhow, it's been a lovely sunny week. Have
It's
you been
gorgeous.
out enjoying it, or have you been working? What's your week look like?
It's been quite quiet, but I just had one day. Beginning of the week, I had some exterior shots to finish the film that we've done. So that is all completely done now. So we went and filmed Trellick Tower, which is a 60s, 70s building in Notting Hill. I think it's Notting Hill Gate. It's probably the easiest place, but an amazing building. It's sort of, if anybody knows it, if anyone doesn't, Google Trellick Tower. It's an incredible. It's a listed building now, and I believe there's a waiting list to actually buy flats or apartments in there.
Wow.
But it's great because it's got it wasn't quite as we wanted a bit of cloud on Monday, but we had sunshine. But we had a lovely shot of myself and the other actor entering and leaving the tower or the environs thereof, and it's got a real stark quite a futuristic look. So it was a great good morning, and then we were able to wrap the movie.
That's sort of gone from when you first mentioned it in my head. I had a picture of Nelson Mandela Towers from or Nelson Mandela House from Fools,
From Only
Fools
Fools,
and
yeah.
Horses. But then you said futuristic, and I don't know why, because it's not really futuristic. But I then jumped to the is it Nakatomi?
Nakatomi Plaza
from Die Hard. Yeah, so I just pictured you going in wearing your vest covered in blood, carrying a machine gun, obviously. So
No. I was actually covered in PPE and gently approaching the building, but that's for another scene.
Not quite as exciting as
Not quite as exciting,
as
but
Mr. Willis and his team. Then, so.
Yeah. But so the rest of the week is just general sort of catching up. I've started sort of building myself a new website, so I've been dickering and exchanging that. So yeah,
cool.
so little bits and pieces. And yourself?
So yeah, I've had a fairly busy week. The obligatory bit of voiceover here and there.
Good.
A couple of self tapes this week as well. A couple of bits sent off for that. I had actually last time we filmed, I think just before I'd done a live Zoom audition. Sadly, didn't get that one, as is the way. But never mind, upwards and onwards. And I'll tell you what, this is completely off our normal sort of direction. And some people, well, they find it weird, maybe not. So I'm quite a big football fan. Which doesn't tend to go hand in hand. I don't know if that's stereotyping or whatever, but you wouldn't normally have musical theatre and football as two sort of side-by-side interests, maybe.
Maybe not.
But for me, there we go. So big football fan, big theatre fan. There we are. And as you are more than aware, and as some of our listeners may be aware, in fact, probably all of them are aware, there's been quite some happenings in the football world this week. So I've spent quite a lot of my time being gobsmacked and reading about that, and I mean you couldn't avoid it; it's in the news everywhere. But yeah, this Super League that was formed and then gone within the space of about 72 hours. So but it
was extraordinary. I mean, I didn't get the background to it, and I mean, I know. I mean, I'm a football, not a football fan, I'm a football watcher. I was far more involved when I was younger, and really I still watch the game, and I still kind of care for what happens for those, particularly for those that are big fans. And I've got a lot of friends that are big football fans that have followed their teams, and some of the teams that are involved. They're big fans of those teams, and I mean, they were all sort of kind of like, "What's going on? What? How did that happen? Where did that come from?"
Yeah, it's just the most ridiculous scenario, and unfortunately a big eye opener to some, just how badly football is all about money now and not about the sport anymore. And these owners that come in, and they're businessmen, so that's all they care about, which is their prerogative. But it's the little man that as you travel down the pyramid, it's the fans at the bottom who get affected most. So,
it's the ticket buyers that are, felt marginalized.
Exactly. But anyway, so a bit of a random one there, but quite a lot of my week has been taken up by sort of talking and thinking and reading and whatever about that. And then I suppose a large focus of my week, as you know, and as people I've mentioned a few times, I'm due to film a feature film in summer called House That Zombies Built, playing one of the lead roles. And I'm starting to prep for that. So I've got my script. I've highlighted, as we said, the tool of an actor. The highlighter is his sword. So all highlighted. And I start to go through and do some annotation and stuff. And it's just, it's been a while, really, since I've had to prep massively for something substantial like this. I mean, I've had some big theatre roles in the last year or so that have required a lot of research and planning and development, but for film not so much recently. It's been more smaller roles. So I found myself back in a scenario that I hadn't been in for a while, and I thought, how do I go about this? What did I used to do? What do I still do? What prep work is required? And yeah, I think it's really interesting when you break it down, the things you go into, the ways you prep for a role, and the things, not just in the sense of, we've mentioned before, perhaps like physically doing workouts and getting your body into shape or whatever, but the other things you do to get into a mindset of a character, to develop a story. And I just thought, you've done quite a lot of it recently. Perhaps I've done more theatre recently, whereas you've done more film recently. So I thought I'd maybe throw that at you and go, what have you done? What maybe give some tips to me and to anyone else out there that's doing something similar or is interested.
Well, I mean, I've pushed to get more film and television stuff, and it's beginning to pay off. And I had to make I don't know about yourself, but for me, whether it's stage or film and screen work, it all starts with the script, because that's for me, that's your guiding line. That's the Bible, for want of a better word. So it all starts from there, and hopefully, if it's a good, well-written script, all the information is there. I mean, obviously, you have to get onto your research and stuff, but if it's something you don't know anything about, but I mean, I played the last one, the one we just finished, Illusions, working title. It was very well written, but it was quite a difficult script to learn because the ideas were very abstract. So I was sort of learning it, I found quite tricky. So, I mean, I don't know how you go about actually physically learning the lines, but I mean, I just read them over and over and over again and get into them and try and get the pacing and the feeling of the writer's style, and and this one was quite tricky because it was a very well written but quite disjointed, and you had to kind of think, and it's futuristic, so the language was quite futuristic in its phraseology, if that makes any sense. So, I mean, I always start, for me personally, going back to answer your question, I always start with the actual words themselves, and then build from there, because I've got I know other people start, they go, oh, I'm playing this character, and they'll have a sort of idea and picture in their head. And I mean, it was Alec Guinness used to start with his shoes. He used to get, he build the character up from, so I start sort of text based and then work out from there. So
nice. Yeah. So, I mean, my other half will attest that when it comes to learning scripts, for me, I tend to procrastinate and then do it last minute. No, no, I'm joking. I don't learn scripts well, I wouldn't say. I find it quite difficult to just sit and read and take in a script. For me, it's very much, perhaps this is why I on the side of theatre and musicals more, but when I'm in a rehearsal room, I attach lines to movements and motions and what's going on.
Yeah,
and I find that memory. I think that for me works very much better. So if I'm in a scene and I walk over somewhere and pick something up, and I always say the same line, you do one and it almost generates the other. So I find that is a very good way of learning things. With film, obviously, it's quite different because you don't tend to have rehearsal in the same way. Certainly not perhaps for weeks before or whatever, like you would do with a musical or a play. You would tend to have a rehearsal of the scene before you shoot the scene, but you can't prep. And as you say, you can't use muscle memory in quite the same way necessarily with that one.
Interestingly, the Illusions film that I've just done, we had the set there, and it was a very specific set because of being set in the future, and everything is it's sort of kind of post-apocalyptic. So all their references are in the past. So the room is set in the past in this future. So we had a set from the first day.
Yeah.
So we did rehearse it
nice.
as we rehearsed it as almost as a play. So we played the scenes right the way through. So when it came to actually shooting them, we were able to show we were able to show the two cameramen and the lighting cameraman. We just played the scene through, and then we had they had a vague shot list. The director had a vague shot list, but then they were able to go, okay, we can do that, we can do that, we can do that. You know, it was fine because we shot. Although we had this lovely set, it was quite small and quite tight. So sometimes we were playing with clever camera angles, so they got quite inventive. But we did actually rehearse it.
Amazing.
As people know, because I've been talking about it, but we did rehearse it almost like a short play, like a one-act play, and then filmed it. But that was almost for ease of shooting as well. But I was able to use that to hang these quite difficult sentences and thoughts on. So that was interesting because you said you don't normally, but in this instance we did do that.
Do you know, it's you've always got a story, or you've always got something like going back and for people listening or watching, if you haven't, I think it was episode 3 where we went through an interesting sort of backstory and came up with anecdotes and things that we've experienced and memories and things. And there was a brilliant one where I think I said something like, have you ever had a wardrobe malfunction? and the terminology suggests, have you ever had, I don't know, your buttons pinged off your shirt, or your trousers have fallen down, or you've lost a shoelace or something like that. But you had literally had a wardrobe malfunction where the wardrobe you were hiding in malfunctioned. Ridiculous. But anyway, you I love that you've always got a random story.
I'm sorry, but my life is
contradicts. But no, well that's amazing. But as said, it is quite unusual to have prolonged rehearsal or the opportunity to go over. Other than perhaps, I suppose, if it's a particular skill, and again, a couple of weeks ago we talked about skills you might have learnt for shows or films, or things that you might have picked up over the years. So I'm assuming that, being that this is about a magician, that do you either have some history in magic, or I think you've mentioned it before, actually.
I don't. I used to do a street show in Covent Garden, street theatre show, where I escaped from some handcuffs. So I know how that's done. But for this magician, he's an aged magician. So all I did was I was taught how to do a couple of little close-up tricks, because the idea is that he doesn't do his magic anymore, that he refuses now.
He's a grumpy old magician.
But he's prohibited because of the state that they're in, the political situation that they're in. He is prohibited, and it's what got him into trouble in the first place.
I see.
So he's almost a magician in exile. But just to keep his hand in, quite literally, I was taught a couple of little coin tricks and how to do the chop cup trick.
Yeah,
and then that you just cut occasionally to seeing him just sort of keeping his hand in and then going, oh, I'm not allowed to do that. Oh, better stop.
Yeah.
So, but I did learn a couple of little tricks for that. Yeah. And thankfully the director was he knew lots of these little tricks, little party pieces.
I suppose that's part of the reason he might be in the job. If you've got that kind of background knowledge, then
maybe so. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's another instance, I guess, where rehearsal is going to be necessary, or at least some prep in that sense, because if you've got a skill that you've got to show as part of a film, then you obviously have to be able to do it. Although, again, film is a different entity from stage, where you can always have camera trickery and you can have bits to assist you. But yeah, so obviously I'm prepping for this role. It's a comedy / horror / sort of drama-y film where the character I'm playing is basically he's a dick. No one likes him, and don't you dare! Yes, I'm acting. Before you say anything, yes, I'm acting.
I'm not even going to say what I will. I'm not. Yeah, no, nothing. This is me being really well behaved.
Yeah. There's a first for everything, isn't there? But essentially, he's massively unlikable and very very immersed in his own world, shall we say. The other people in it are lucky to be there with him. That's the kind of vibe he's getting. So, and there is, I mean, the difference potentially with this being a film and perhaps a similar character in theatre, from my experience, from what I've done previously. I've played characters in theatre where you get almost a description of them at that point, but you won't necessarily have a backstory unless you read through the whole thing. And even then, if it's not mentioned, then you may not have a backstory at all. With this film, I've been given a character bio that accompanies the script and everything. And it literally explains why he's like how he is and what has happened in his life to make him like that. So in that respect, it's easier because I know the history, so I can just have that there in the back of my mind as the character. Yeah. Whereas I know certainly I've done theatre productions where you've had very limited information, and then you develop your own backstory, and actually you've almost got a bit more scope with that, because if there's nothing there to say otherwise, then you can just sort of go with it. So with this one, go on. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, do you do any? I mean, yeah, sometimes we have to, but do you do any sort of research in so much as I like mood boards and story? I know they're quite in vogue at the moment, because I did a play and to help the characters, the designer came in with a load of mood boards. So not only was it our costume, but it was like colors that are associated with this character, and so I wondered if do you do that yourself? Because I know for this character, the magician, I just looked at some old sort of show bills, the old sort of vaudeville bills, so I could get an idea of what he may have looked like or whatever. Is there anything you?
No, I mean, for this character, no. There's not that kind of depth to it.
Right.
He's more just a grumpy twat, really. But I'm not trying to make it sound like he's horrible. It's well worth it. Once the film is done, it'll be worth seeing, because he's grumpy for a reason, and contrasting to other characters and stuff, it works really well. And as you can probably imagine, he gets his comeuppance, etc., etc. So he might be a grumpy dick, but you're gonna like the fact that he is, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But certainly with other roles previously, things like that have helped. So, for example, I played a soldier suffering with PTSD in a film where he's haunted by these visions of things that have happened to him. And for that, I went great depth studying up on PTSD, on the effects of it. I've got some friends in the military and sort of asked for not first-hand things necessarily, but talked about certain experiences they may have had that could have triggered people. So I've been able to do the research in that respect. Mood board sounds really interesting. Not necessarily something I've done personally, but I can see with certain characters and things, and certainly if you're creating a piece of theatre or film that you're allowing a large interpretation to go to the audience rather than spelling it out. I think that's a great way of guiding it. If you've got people in it that you want to perhaps seem like they at the start they're bright and happy and everything, and then something goes wrong, you can certainly do that with costume. You can certainly, even just to carry a point, you can have them dressing bright and happy and fresh to start with, and then dampen it down in color and style.
That was very much like happened with Illusions, with the magician, because his partner, his assistant, she is very bright. She's very brightly colored, and she believes in the new world. Yeah. And he is very monochrome. He's very black and white, and he does not believe or trust the new world. So they certainly played with those feelings of color within the film. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that's going to turn out, because I think in post production they're going to play with that even more. So that's going to be interesting.
Oh, excellent, great. Yeah. But yeah, so there's a couple of things there, I guess, and then from there I think it's becoming familiar with the script is the other thing I'm doing. So it's all very well learning your own lines, but I think you have to know the story. I think you really have to immerse yourself in that respect. And I guess there's also an element of then forgetting it or then playing it without knowing what's coming. So that's where you sort of draw the definition and you make that change is by going, right, I know exactly what's coming for this character. I know what they're going to go through. I know what's coming, but they don't. So how are they going to react to these scenarios? And I suppose that's one of the main skills, isn't it? To kind of go, I've got to make this seem that I'm as surprised as the audience or whatever in that respect.
Well, particularly as well, because very often you shoot out a sequence. Given availability of locations, you may well be shooting the third quarter of the movie before you've even started shooting the earlier scenes, just because So you've got to know the full rounded story before they go, okay, I'm at point 3 now, and 2 weeks time we're going to be at point 1. So I'm going to have to forget all this stuff and go back and pretend this has not happened.
This is it. And I'll tell you why. That is why I could never, ever work in continuity, because, my God, it blows my mind.
Oh, yeah.
To think that, imagine the mental kind of things you've got to go through to go, right, well, this guy, I don't know, this guy is about to get punched in the face, right? But we're going to film afterwards first. So he's going to have a bloody nose and a black eye and that. But then we're going to go backwards and he's not going to have all that. So, and again, makeup and costume stuff must be doing their nut, because filming out a sequence could mean that you've got to have 4 or 5 of the same bloody T-shirt or whatever, one with rips in, one without. And definitely another reason I'm glad I'm that side of the camera rather than behind it, making everything work.
Mind you, we've both got mild OCD tendencies, so we'd probably be all right, and survive it.
Yeah, spot things in other films and other people. Wow. Well, I don't know about you, but I think his hair was slightly shorter in that scene. But no.
Do you have you got to have an accent or anything for this, or you're using your own voice in that? Because
no, this one is very much neutral. There may be a slight sort of Cockney or Essex twang to it. I don't know. They haven't given a direction on that yet.
Right.
But he's your average guy,
Joe,
but not likable. So he's that dick in the office that everyone's like, oh, okay, he's in again.
Okay, he's in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you? Are you good at accents? Is it something you do?
Do you know? I think I've said about it before. I would never ever sort of not go for something if it required an accent. if I've got the time. So I can study and I will listen to someone speaking that natural accent and familiarize myself with it. And if I know people who have that accent naturally as well, we'll ask them to perhaps give me some examples or listen to them speaking. But I wouldn't say I'm a natural sort of, I can just take up any accent. I have to study. I have to really think about it. I'm not blessed with the kind of just switch it on at the drop of a hat.
No, I know what you mean.
What about you?
I have an ability to learn an accent, but I really want to get it right. Do you know what I mean? And there are some that you go, I'm never going to get that exactly. I just I'm going to steer away from that one. But if I get one, I'm like you. I love to listen to the native people, and also there's apparently someone told me listen to an impersonation of an accent, and then listen to the original accent, because it apparently then I've never done that to learn an accent, but apparently that helps because you listen to the exaggerations, then you listen to the real one, and then you take the exaggerations out, and you end up with I would have thought, an homogenized accent, but apparently it's a way of getting into it quickly.
It's not something I've heard before, but it makes a lot of sense, actually. So.
But it's all different techniques, isn't it? All the preparation that we do is all different techniques. The way you would do something, it's completely different to the way I would approach something, and it's
absolutely.
It's whatever gets you there, I think, and there are all those. Yeah. There are all the sort of method actors, and to prepare for a film, they would be that person, and never change on set. I mean, I know there's legions of stories of actors that would say, I will be in character from 6 o'clock in the morning in makeup until 10 o'clock at night when I leave in my car, and that's it. And you think, well, if that works, it's kind of the way it's got to be done. I never really. The way people prep and work doesn't really bother me as long as we get the work done.
That's it. And as we've said, there are massive differences in prepping for film compared to prepping for theatre. But I suppose we could go on for. I guess we'll leave the theatre side maybe for the future when we are back working a bit more on the stages.
Absolutely,
and we can talk about it in a bit more recent terms, I guess.
Absolutely.
But yeah, and I tell you what, mate. That has flashed a little light bulb in my mind. We're talking about theatres and stages and shows.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Go on, well, I'll tell you what. You do the honours then. Where am I going?
I think you're referring to the stage door competition.
Stage door competition, indeed. So, for anyone that didn't tune in last week, what were you doing? You've missed out. But we had the lovely Julianne Watley-McCarthy with us, who is the creative director and owner at the Stage Door Theatre in Southampton. And we talked for ages about incredible sort of backstories and learning all about what venues have had to go through and what sort of things they've suffered because of the unwelcome guest and things that have what she's doing to prepare for that in future and how things have changed, etc. But also she gave us two, not just one, but two sets of tickets to give away.
Two. Brilliant.
And I suppose we should probably find out who's won, Drew, shouldn't we? So we have two sets of tickets to give away. So we've got a set of 4 tickets, or a table, cabaret style table of 4 tickets for the amazing Velmicelli, who is doing a drag show very much influenced and in tribute to David Bowie. And then also we've got a pair of tickets to give away to Musical Theatre Southampton's show, Soho Cinders. Yeah. And one, I can't remember which, I think Velmicelli's June and Soho Cinders is July. I think that's right, isn't it?
I think you're right. Yes. Yeah.
So we had some lovely entries. Thank you to those of you that did enter. If you haven't done, very sorry, too late, but don't worry, we will have some more competitions in the future. But where are we starting then, Drew? Because you've got all the list, and I can't believe I'm letting you drive the tech again after last time. But
I googled and found a random name picker, and into which I have put our 2 sets of names.
Oh, lovely!
Now, some people entered for the Velma, some people entered for Soho Cinders, and some people entered for both.
Indeed,
I have created 2 lists.
Lovely. What are we going with first?
So we are going with randomly. I'm doing this randomly. So, okay, for our, let me just double check, make sure I've got the right list before I start getting.
So yeah, while Drew's checking that, what we've done essentially is gone through all the list, made sure that the rules were you had to follow Stage Door, you had to follow us, Drewling Samantics, and then you had to like the picture of Drew, myself, and the lovely Julianne, and then comment underneath which tickets you'd like to attempt to win, be it Soho or Velma, or you could put both and enter both. So we've collaborated all those names, checked that everyone's done all the required bits and pieces, and now, yeah, over to you, Mr. Pett.
So, okay, so we're going to go for Soho Cinders first.
Lovely. So have you got all your names in the list there?
I have the list there. As you can see, there's our list of names.
Lovely. Yeah, excellent.
For Soho Cinders.
Yeah.
And all I have simply got to do, it says.
Simply, he says, knowing how good you are with tech.
It's right. It says pick a winner. So.
Well, let's pick a winner then.
Pick a winner. And it's chundering the way through. And our winner is. There it is, Mr. Lee Backhouse.
Mr. Lee Backhouse, congratulations.
There we see.
Lee Backhouse, you have won yourself a pair of tickets to Soho Cinders in July. Fantastic. As with all our competitions, if you are a winner, you just need to ping us an email. Our email address is drewlingsamantics@gmail.com, and that'll be scrolling across the bottom as well. So, yes, Mr. Lee Backhouse, congratulations. Make sure you ping us an email, and then obviously we can get back to you with how you claim your pair of tickets. Okay, then, Drew, back to you, mate.
All right, so Vermicelli, we've got some of the names because some people thought they'd enter both competitions. So there we go. There we are. There's our names.
There we go. Some names in that one. Lovely.
And we push a random name generator. And we get
thinking about it.
Lovely. Fairy Blue.
Fairy Blue.
We have won tickets to Vermicelli.
Congratulations, Fairy Blue. You've won a table for four tickets for Vermicelli in June. So again, drewlingsamantics@gmail.com. Ping us an email with your details, and we can then let you know how you go ahead and claim. So congratulations to both of you, our lovely competition winners. And thanks, Drew. That was almost seamless, mate. Well done.
Well, I am sitting here sweating slightly because I think, don't cock this up, Drew. It's perfectly simple. It's only 4 buttons to press, but there you go.
It's 4 buttons more than you're used to pressing. So there we go.
I can't argue with that.
No, very true. But yeah, so congratulations to our lovely competition winners. A massive thank you again to Julianne, who was brilliant. Again, if you haven't listened to or watched that episode yet, episode number 8, please do. It was so inspirational to hear what she's had to do, and obviously what other venues will have had to do, but also eye-opening to know just what they've gone through and how they've come out the other side. And do you know what the main message above it all is? That theatre is coming back, but it's coming back across the board. So maybe have a think before you go, well, great, the West End's back in operation. Yes, please go and support the performers in the West End. They are hugely talented. But don't forget, we've got some smaller fringe venues all over the UK, all over the world. Please do support local theatre as much as the big players as well, because we're going to need it.
I think we forget. I mean, it's interesting seeing how there's an interesting parallel between what you talked about with the Super League, with that is so far away from a lot of the fans that went, football's lost touch with me, if you're going to start doing this. And you could look at that and say, in theatre, the West End is maybe the pinnacle of, and the RSC and the National Theatre. And then there's a lot of people that go, I can't afford to go there. So they support their own small grassroots theatres.
Yeah.
And, and those theatres, those small businesses create so much revenue, and so much of the industry is built on those small grassroots who probably don't get much funding, probably don't. They live and die on the support of their audiences. So to see someone like, Julianne coming back, and I've seen some small theatres near me that are going, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to try and do this within the bounds of our what we can do legally. To see them springing back up and being supported by people is really heartening. So we don't need the Super League of Theatre. What we actually need are the, what is it? Jumpers for goalposts theatre. That's what we need. We need, we need theatres that are really going to sort of and giving work to actors and giving work to all the ancillary people that are involved in theatre.
Yeah. And it goes without saying, we're not telling you to ignore the West End. Absolutely,
no.
Because from an actor's perspective, if you want to be in theatre, that is the top of the pile. That is the dream. We would all love to be a leading West End man, lady, whatever, and be out there 8 shows a week to packed audiences. But we all do start somewhere else. I mean, I think you'd be very lucky to walk straight into the Lyceum or one of the other big theatres in central London as your first ever gig. It's not unheard of, but the majority of us start small and grow as much as we can. So don't forget to support all the way through, and bear in mind that we are coming out of this horrendous situation, and it's the same as we've said before. You hear about support local, support small brands, support those small independent shops. The same goes with theatre as well. Support all the way up, because we need people back in the theatres watching, so we can continue to make stuff and grow and be better than we were even before. So
good. Well said.
Thank you. I've used up all my philosophical and
is that it's all gone now?
The next week now, so I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. But speaking of, what have you got coming up? Anything exciting, mate?
Quiet week this week. Just continuing with some pre-production work. And I'm going to get back to building the website. And to be honest, because I've all my filming commitments have finished, I'm on the job hunt. So I shall be looking forwards and looking at stuff that's and maybe after June the 21st, when everything opens up, I'll start looking for a bit of theatre work and a bit of work like that.
Of course, yeah. So anyone out there that's looking for someone around the 4'2" mark, in his mid 90s, Drew is going to be available. So yeah, please do email us, and I will send a letter to Drew, or send him a telegram or whatever they're called, because that's how he deals with things. So I can.
When the pigeon lands on the windowsill, mate, I know there's a communication from you.
Exactly. And I'll tell you what, I'm learning the Morse code as well for you.
Oh, so I work on the flags. The flags are good for me.
Semaphore.
Semaphore. Yeah, if you can stand on a hill,
And it sounds like we're slowly getting to the point where we're just taking the piss again. Who would have thought, eh?
Yeah, I know.
There we go. Well, sounds like you're going to be busy then, albeit being productive rather than having things already in place. So
it's the 5 P's. It's the PPPPP. But I should be doing a little bit of that this week. Yeah. And yourself?
So I've got everything we've been talking about today.
Yeah,
really
of course.
Prepping for this film role, doing my research, and just making sure that I'm happy with the character, not just knowing the lines, but why he's saying them, what's going on, and where the motivation is coming from, I guess.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. Bit more promo for that as well. I'm waiting on filming schedules for that and another film, and I spoke to the director, creator of that one, and he's going through the final financial stages on that, which is great, because that's going to be an amazing feature film. So looking forward to that. So lots of prep work, and without a doubt, I will be doing some voiceover as well as completing the edit for the audio book that I'm.
Brilliant stuff.
So yeah, a few bits going on as well, mate.
Good stuff.
Who knows? And as you, looking for more stuff and hoping that things will come up. So
yeah.
But yeah. So well, anyway, mate, it's a pleasure as always to catch up. With you.
Total pleasure.
And
total pleasure.
I suppose, ladies and gentlemen at home or on the road or wherever you might be listening to us or watching us, a pleasure to see or have all you with us again. Please do keep coming back, and if you haven't already, do the obligatory follow us on social media. We're on Facebook at Drewling Samantics. We're on Instagram at Drewling Samantics, Twitter at Drew and Sam. We're on YouTube. That's a really long linky thing, but just search for Drewling Samantics, and after you've had your fight with YouTube over the spelling because it doesn't like the spelling of our name, you'll find us. We're there. You'll see two ugly mugs next to
Two
each
ugly mugs sitting there smiling.
Yeah. So you'll find us, but please do comment, like, share, get lots of other people involved. But most importantly, do download the podcast, because the more downloads we get, the more we can create for you and keep coming back and doing more. And especially with regards to guests and competitions, without your support, people aren't going to want to come on and talk to us and give stuff away. So keep supporting us. Let your friends and family know so we continue to grow. And but above all else, thank you for listening.
Absolutely echo everything you say. Well done, mate.
And Drew, have a cracking week, mate.
And yourself, Sam.
Yourself. Enjoy the lovely weather. And that's annoying, isn't it?
Is that your agent? That'll be your agent.
Yeah, that's my agent calling, telling me that Spielberg wants me. And that also I've landed the next James Bond role.
That's the one, yeah.
So that's what I'm going to be doing this week, organising things for that. But
brilliant stuff.
Anyway, mate, it's lovely to see you. Have a cracking week and catch up soon.
Next week.
Cheers,
buddy.
See you all. Bye.
Bye, goodbye.
Thanks again for tuning in. We hope you've enjoyed listening to this episode of Drewling Samantics.
If you have, then please consider subscribing and you'll get notified every time a new episode is released. The podcast is available on all good platforms or directly through our RSS feed. Just check the podcast details.
You can also find us on all popular social media, and you can even watch us on YouTube, although why you'd want to look at Drew's face is a mystery to me. Again, all our social media links and handles are in the podcast details.
We love welcoming new followers and subscribers, so please share with your family and friends, and we'll be eternally grateful. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.